you don't need to please the world. You need to do what you believe is the right thing for your own health and your own wealth and for your own well-being, to make yourself happy, to wake up every morning, to have a smile on your face, to be financially secure, and to believe that the future will be just as rosy as it has been in the past, and obviously your current lifestyle.
Hi, everyone. My name is Michelle Cen, and I'm delighted today to have on Jeff Richer, who reached out after reading my article in the NHA magazine about True North. And he himself has a very inspiring story of turning his lifestyle around and avoiding the many chronic diseases that tend to afflict people in our population. Thank you so much, Jeff, for being on here today. And we'd love to learn, what is your story?
Well, it's we all have stories to tell as to why we changed whatever we did in our life. For me, it was a fact. Obviously, I knew I was getting older, and I knew many, many years ago that there were challenging health issues that I would be facing as I reached whatever that age was to be for me. And for me, it was around age 65. My cholesterol was high and getting higher for a number of years. Then between one year and the next, between my annual visit with my physician, it jumped from borderline normal to around 245 or something like that. And I wasn't happy with that, wasn't terribly surprised, but I wasn't happy. And I knew my physician, even before I went there, was going to say, you got to go on a statin. I don't like drugs. I just don't like drugs if there is an alternative, which is interesting because my father used to be a pharmacist, but that's another matter. Anyhow, so what happened was that she told me I need to go on a statin. I said, I don't want to go on a statin. I don't want to go on any drugs. Is there any other option I have to get my cholesterol down? And to make a long story short, she connected me with a local cardiologist who no longer practiced cardiology, but basically did cholesterol management. He didn't want to practice traditional cardiology anymore. So he was an elderly man, which was fine, no problem. And so I made an appointment, saw him. And the crux of the conversation I had with him was that I should eat more vegetables. He didn't tell me to become vegan. He didn't tell me to become a vegetarian. At the time, it didn't really mean much to me because it was hocus pocus as far as I was concerned. And but at the very same time, within a day or two, Joel Furman was giving one of his many PBS specials, Eat to Live. I think at the time it was going back about 8 years ago for me. And not only did I watch it once, I must have watched it every day, for 2 weeks straight, 10 times, 15 times, I don't know. And I could have memorized the video that he gave for 2 or 3 hours, whatever it was, and it just made sense. It clicked. Everything he said made sense to me. And obviously I wanted to bring down my cholesterol. So overnight, I just made a decision. I told, I've always been the cook in the family. And I told my wife that I'm not cooking the way I used to anymore. And she had a choice. She can cook for herself, or she could eat what I made, and she didn't like the idea of cooking anymore. So she also de facto almost became, at the time, vegan, not whole food, plant-based. And I didn't even know what the hell I did. It happened so quickly. I just knew that I made a change. And gosh, within, I don't know, 2, 3 weeks, came back for a follow-up cholesterol, and it went down 50, 60 points in like no time. And then all my other markers, which also were not doing so well, started to come down. Within 5 or 6 months, initially I lost 40 pounds within about 5 months. So that was never my goal, to lose weight. I never considered myself to be heavy, but I was. I was. And I just felt better. I just felt so much more energetic. I just I like the fact I lost a lot of weight. Uh, People were telling me I look good. My pants started falling off me. I had to get new clothes. And it was all these wonderful things that started happening to me. And then I started reading, and read a lot of books by Joel Furman. And then I was introduced to Michael Greger and, all the other gurus out there. And it just made sense. It clicked for me. And, why not? Why not continue to want to improve my health? And I've had some ups and downs, not so much with the lifestyle change that I totally embrace and endorse, and I'm so passionate about now. But my cholesterol, although it's always been fine, within completely normal limits, and also my metabolic factors, my C-reactive protein is, I mean, not only normal, but a low normal. But my cholesterol about a year and a half ago, for reasons unknown to me and my doctor, shot up to close to 200 again, from like around 140 or so, and my LDL cholesterol went high around 100 or so, or 105. And even my cardiologist, lipid specialist, was thinking about statins, and I said no. So I connected with Lifelong Telehealth, which is lifestyle physicians, and basically the physician I connected with is wonderful, and we speak the same language. And to make a long story short, about a month ago, I had my labs tested again. I was on vacation for a few weeks, but yeah, my total cholesterol is down to 135. My LDL is 69. Told you my C-reactive protein's 0.4, and my blood sugar is 80. I mean, I haven't seen numbers like this since I was younger than you, Michelle. And it's been a few years since I've been that age. And again, I just feel wonderful. And within the past year or so, I started yoga. I never did it before. Within the past 4, 5, 6 months, whatever, I'm working with a personal trainer. So between yoga and personal trainer, I don't know, 10, 11, 12 hours a week. Every week I'm doing exercise. I never did exercise before. And it's just a mindset to me. I mean, like, why kill yourself? Why knowingly eat foods to harm yourself and eventually kill you, or just have chronically bad health, when you can feel wonderful and healthy, and in all likelihood reduce the risk from a very high number to an extremely low number. I mean, I'm not afraid of dying, but I prefer to avoid the pain and the suffering, and don't want to deal with any chronic issues and all the crap that 96% of Americans do. And you hear stories of Colin Campbell, what he personally went through with dioxin that he was exposed to, and his wife Leanne, who went through treatment of stage 3 melanoma, malignant melanoma, and water only fasting. And I mean, it's one thing leads to another. You have to have an open mind. You have to be flexible. You have to recognize that nothing is perfect in today's world, but the reality is it's all about risk and reward. And for me, I mean, I don't look my age. I know it, not because I feel it, but because people tell me that I can do things. I mean, I was on vacation. I was hiking 20, 20, 24, 25,000 steps every day. I was pretty intense exercise, in addition to working with my personal trainer, because it's virtual, and I can do it. I can do it. I can do things that people 20, 30, 40 years younger than me just can't do. And it's very invigorating. It's very inspiring for me. It just makes me feel good. So that's my story, better or for worse. That's my story.
Thank you for sharing. And how old are you? Because nobody will be able to guess.
Um, I'm 72 and I'm 2 months away from turning 73.
Oh, wow. Congratulations. That's,
Thank you. Thank you.
yeah, a lot of people don't make it to your age without at least some ailments. And I think you mentioned that your family has a history of prostate cancer as well.
Yeah, let me talk a little bit about that. My dad's now deceased, not because of prostate problems, but when he was about my age, perhaps slightly younger, he was diagnosed with prostate cancer. I have an older brother, same thing, my age or slightly younger. He also diagnosed with prostate cancer. Ever since I was age 40, I was told by my dad actually to have my prostate checked annually by a urologist for the possibility of prostate cancer. So I've been going to my physician, my urologist, for more than 30 years or so. And concurrently, yeah, about 8 years ago, I didn't really think about it, but my prostate, rather my PSA levels were going up. 4 is the cutoff for being normal. Mine was, I forget exactly, I think between 7 and 8 or thereabouts. So it was definitely trending in the wrong direction. And again, that was around the same time that I started becoming whole food plant-based with no oil, salt, or sugar. And he was concerned, and we did a whole bunch of testing, and I did not have prostate cancer, but I knew without a diet change that my PSA would probably continue to increase, and at some point in time, my likelihood of being diagnosed with prostate cancer would be that much higher. And I can tell you that for the past 8 years, every year I'm still examined by the urologist, and my PSA sometimes goes up nominally, sometimes comes down nominally, but my PSA now is the same as it was 8 years ago. It's about 8.2, whatever. But basically it stays within a very consistent range. And my urologist isn't concerned. I'm not concerned. I have no issues. The only issue I have with my prostate is that I have what's called benign prostate hyperplasia, which basically means it's kind of like a woman being pregnant and have pressure being put on your bladder, and same with me with my prostate. So I'm constantly having to go to the bathroom. I do take a medication for that. But I will be going to True North in about another week or so, the end of next week, and hopefully my water only fasting regime will help that. Help.
Absolutely.
We hope.
Absolutely. So
We
this
hope.
we hope, fingers crossed. I mean, a lot of people come through with um benign prostate hyperplasia like you're mentioning. And to be honest, the first few days, because a lot of people have been eating salt, they tend to urinate a lot more frequently because it's called diuresis. They're kind of getting rid of all the extra water they were retaining because of all that salt they were eating. Now for you, because you're not eating that much salt, that might not happen, and hopefully we'll see a decrease in urinary frequency at night.
Well, we hope so. It's interesting. I don't, and I've never, ever since I was, gosh, I can remember, 4 or 5 years old, I don't drink water like most people do. A lot of people, especially your age, Michelle, walk around with their,
Oh, like
yeah, exactly. And it's like, what you have in your container, I can consume in a week. I mean,
yeah.
I have literally probably 6 ounces, 8 ounces of water a day, a day. I just, I don't get thirsty. I don't need water. I mean, yes, in a hot summer day where it's really super hot, maybe I'll have 16 ounces of water. I don't drink water. So when I'm going to True North, since it's a water only fast, I suspect I'll be drinking water which might be counterproductive to, what I'm trying to accomplish to decrease the amount of urine I'm, eliminating. So we'll see. We'll see. I mean, I'm hopeful. My primary reason for going to True North, a couple of reasons, I guess. I'm very curious. When I learned about water fasting about 2 or 3 years ago, and I joined the NHA, I mean, Dr. Goldhammer and a lot of his cohorts, talk a lot about water only fasting, and I was exposed to it that way. I have two people I know who are also whole food plant based who have gone to True North now twice,
Mm.
in successive years, and I'm just curious. So I just want to find out for myself what's going on. And yeah, my prostate is I mean, even though I don't have prostate cancer, I know I'm at relatively high risk. Um, so that's definitely important. I have arthritis in
Mm.
my big toe joint, which it's osteoarthritis, and I don't have inflammation, although there are some people who feel that inflammation is a part of the process of osteoarthritis. I mean, rheumatoid
Mm.
arthritis, which is what more people have, definitely is an
Mhm.
inflammatory disease. I don't have inflammation. I mean, my
Mhm.
C-reactive protein is 0.4. It's a very low normal, but
Mhm.
who knows? I don't have really pain in my big toe, but maybe that will be helped. I have terrible hearing. I mean, I have profound hearing loss, and without hearing aids, I wouldn't be able to have this conversation with you right now.
Mm.
So again, I don't have inflammation, but who knows? Maybe that will be helped by going to True North. And again, I don't see anything wrong with going. I mean, the downside is non-existent as far as I can see. I mean, I guess I'll be hungry and I can be somewhat miserable for X amount of days. But so be it. I'll be in good company with a lot of other people who will be sharing our misery, and we can cry on each other's shoulder. But that's I don't. I've never been the type of person. A lot of people have if 80 or 90% of the people do things a certain way, they'll be swayed to do things a certain way. If 80 or 90 or 95% of the people do something and they approach me, I'll usually do exactly the opposite of what they do. I mean, I'm very comfortable being with 2 or 3% of the population. That's just the way I am, which is probably one of the reasons why it was an overnight decision for me to basically cold turkey switch to being whole food plant based. I mean, it was a very logical and easy decision, and perhaps hasty decision, but I made hasty decisions all my life. And I mean, I used to practice medicine, and one day I said, "The hell with medicine," and I became a full-time real estate investor. I just walked away from all that medical school and training that I went through, and because that's the way I am. That's the way my mind is. I don't need other people to, you know, give me their kudos. I just don't need it.
Mm. So what was your medical training in?
Well, I'm a podiatrist.
Ah.
Oh, that's what it was in. Yeah, yeah. But still, that's 4 years of school, 1 year of resident. Well, I did 1 year of residency. I was in practice for about 14 years or so. And I did not. I mean, one of the reasons I became a doctor was I wanted to be self-employed. I never felt self-employed. I always felt that there was oversight by the insurance companies. The insurance companies had to give me their approval to do what I knew as a doctor was not what in the best interest of the patients. I was constantly scrutinized, wondering if I was to be audited. There was a lot of paperwork. It's a relatively stressful profession, and a lot of frustration, a lot of anger that I developed over the years towards the practice of medicine. And for me, I I learned about real estate investing actually from my residency director, who had at a very early age in his life, uh, I don't know how he learned, but he became interested in real estate investing. And when he died, he was probably close to 100 years old. He was probably worth about $500 million. I mean, he was a very wealthy man and owned a shopping mall and, 7 or 8 McDonald's and Wendy's. And he had an income, he told me, at $450,000 a month 30 years ago, tax free. But he still had money that was taxable. So he probably had an income of $1-2 million a month altogether. So he had a lot to share with me. Not that I understood him at the time, but it was interesting. Again, I've always tried to learn from other people, and it doesn't have to be necessarily in the majority, as long as I feel it's logical and makes sense, and I can research it, and that's the way life should be, for me at least.
Yeah, it helps that you don't blend in with the population because then you'd be sick like the rest of them.
Well, I had a my grandmother. My grandmother lived till she was almost 103. She never really had dementia. She was sharp. I mean, she was sharp as a razor blade up until she was maybe 100. And even then, she was okay. Um, and she was a very dogmatic person. She was very strong, opinionated, intelligent. Uh, I mean, she just, either you agreed with her or you disagree with her. And if you disagree with her, she would tell you to your face you were an idiot. You didn't know what you were talking about. She had no tact, no diplomacy, uh, which as a child I was very close to my grandmother. I saw her every day. So it taught me a lot about people and the way you have to assume your role in life, and how you have to make decisions, and how you have to overcome challenges and obstacles, which we all do. We all have to do what's right ultimately for ourselves, and I guess our family too. But and sometimes decisions that you make are popular, but sometimes they're unpopular. And you're the boss. You got to make the decision that's right for you and your family. So I've had good mentors in my life. I had bad ones too, but yeah, whatever.
We forget them.
We try to forget those, exactly.
Wow. And are there any times, so you sound very resilient to social pressures, but are there any times, especially when it comes to trying to live this lifestyle, say you're eating out with other people, are there times when you do cave to other people telling you, oh, do this thing which you don't feel as comfortable doing from a health perspective?
The problem that I run into with this lifestyle, or particularly the diet that I've chosen to live by, is that yes, for example, when you get together with friends and you go to a restaurant, it's very, I mean, at first I called my lifestyle, I called myself vegan. Vegan really means nothing to me. It's the no oil, salt, or sugar. And if you go to a restaurant and you tell them that you don't want oil, salt, or sugar, either they'll look at you like, you're nuts, which is okay, because
Yeah, we are nuts.
maybe I am nuts. I don't know, but aside from that, their responses, well, not all restaurants, but I can't do it, or no, we can't accommodate you, or something like that. Or, for example, I recently got back. I was traveling for a couple of weeks. I was in Germany. Well, one of the countries I was in is Germany and Berlin, and I've been told Berlin is the vegan capital of the world, at least by my daughter, who thinks she knows everything. And maybe that's true, maybe it's not, I don't know, but they still use oil. And I'm not surprised if they use some salt or sugar. And I don't speak German, so it's kind of hard for me to communicate with the restaurant owners. So I know that when I go out to eat, there's going to be some nasty toxic stuff that enters my body. Um, One way that I've countered it again is that I know that when I get back home, which I am now, I can totally control what goes in my mouth. I have a supplement that I have been using now that seems to work wonderfully to help to control my cholesterol. It's called citrus bergamot.
Mhm.
Works for me very well. Another one, chlorella, which is nothing more than an algae.
Mhm.
And I just kind of like bulk up on that a little bit for a couple of days afterwards. So, yeah, but, again, my friends know that I eat kind of weirdly, and one of the foods I love eating is Ethiopian food,
Mm.
and we have a lot of it here in Philadelphia. So whenever we go to Ethiopian restaurants, it's easy to to eat whole food, plant based. It's life. So I know what to expect. If I go to a restaurant ahead of time, I'll check their menu, or I'll call ahead of time, tell them this is how I eat. Can you make a special meal for me? Um, Whatever. I mean, it is what it is. It's my friends have told me I'm a little bit different, or they indicated that. That's okay. Whatever.
That's great. And you're a very active person. Like I can see that exercise machine behind you. Can you explain like how much activity you get every day? What are things you do?
Well, I really am not. It's interesting. I did a kind of like an interview or something for my personal trainer a number of months ago, and I described it, to help her business because I think she's wonderful, and the way I describe myself is I went from years ago essentially being mush to being having a body that I'm proud of. So I know that I look like I'm very fit, but really my fitness evolves around the yoga that I do. I do about 4.5 hours of yoga altogether a week, and the personal training that I do with my trainer for the other 6, 7, or whatever, 8 hours a week too. And that's really it. What you're looking at, my exercise machine, I haven't used in, I dare say, years. But again, I was in Croatia last month, and doing 20,000, 18, 20, 22,000 steps every day for a week or two straight. And I mean, it was challenging, but no big deal. You do it, and I didn't break a leg or anything, so I guess I can do it. And it really was challenging. I mean, I was always doing things that some 20 and 30-year-olds might find very difficult. Um, I don't know. I don't. It's really an attitude thing for me. I don't that it's impossible. I mean, I've learned to accept the fact that you're not going to be able to succeed in this world unless you try to do it, unless you overcome
Mhm.
obstacles and accept the fact that in order successful people aren't successful automatically. You learn what it takes to become successful. You learn to push aside comments from people who have absolutely no idea what they're talking about. You learn how to face a situation in which you know your strengths and weaknesses, and you
Mhm.
emphasize your strengths, and you know that you can accomplish it, and you don't want to hear people say you can't do it. So that's the way I am, and that's the way I've led my life. And even though I'm technically retired, I still own a couple of properties. I still try to be intellectually challenged. I read. I deal with people. I make investment decisions. I'm in an investment club, and our returns are better than most professional investment advisors, because we're all very educated people, and we push ourselves to learn, and we're very light-minded as far as that goes. So um I don't know. I don't see life as one in which I try to live it for other people, to make other people happy. I mean, I've always been self-employed. I've
Hmm.
always figured out how to make a living and make a good living, and challenge myself in ways in which most people wouldn't. I mean, for example, one of the ways in which I succeeded as a real estate investor was that I looked at properties and saw things that other people didn't. I mean, I bought houses of prostitution and converted it into very, after I evicted the tenants initially, and made it into a very successful monetary rate of return. Returns of 30, 40, 50, 60% a year. You don't make that in the stock market, for 20 or 30 years. I did. I did. And I know how to use Excel spreadsheets to determine how to do that. And I teach people how to invest in real estate. So you don't say no. You learn how to say yes. You learn how to accomplish what's important to you in life, and you don't really care what other people think or say, because you're not going to be able to control them. I accept people for what they are. If they like me, great. If they don't, too bad.
I love that. Have you always been that way, or was it over the decades you became more comfortable with who you were and more confident in your decisions?
No, when I was younger, I was always trying to please other people, never really pleased myself. I was young, I was immature, I was growing. But that's not that unusual, I think, for many of us. But when I was in my 20s and was recently married, I had to, well, I had to look forward to the future. I mean, I had to
Mhm.
plan for the future. I thought when I was much younger that I would be a podiatrist and continue to be so for forever into my 60s, when I would ultimately retire, I guess.
Hmm.
But that life didn't unfold that way. I guess when I grew up in my 20s and I recognized that I had a brain, that I learned how to use it, and I didn't have to please my mother and father and other people. The only person I had to please was myself and my family, and do what was right. And do what was right for me meant to be self-employed, partially because I just had that mindset.
Mhm.
Partially it was instilled in me from my grandmother at a very young age, because my grandmother and grandfather were immigrants and were always self-employed, and
Mhm.
they never took anything from anybody else. They built a very successful business in their own, and they built their business in the Great Depression. So uh you don't make excuses. I don't know. I guess that's just the way I am. In my 20s, I just grew up and I decided that for me, this was the right way to go forward. And I don't I don't need to have other people pat me on the back again and tell me, great job or whatever. I mean, if I'm doing a good job, I know I'm doing a good job. If I'm doing a lousy job, I just know it, and I know
Mhm.
I got to change it. So that's just the way I am. That's just the way I think.
That's wonderful. Yeah, I love all the wisdom you've been sharing so far. It's really so helpful to hear from someone as experienced and knowledgeable as you, because I resonate a lot with what you say, like wanting to be self-employed and having a bit of a different attitude compared to my peers about how to live life. So it's just so helpful to hear, hey, it's okay to be contrarian and it
Yeah,
can be helpful and
what it
life-saving.
comes down to, Michelle, is that, and I've told this to other people, although they don't necessarily follow my advice, but again, when I was in my 20s, something clicked for me. And what the end result of that clicking process was for me was that there was a certain amount of confidence that I knew I had, that I developed. It was, again, something within me. I don't really know. And the attitude I had with that confidence was, I can do anything. I can do anything that I want to do. And I don't really care what other people think or say. I'll listen to them, but 99% of what people tell me or used to tell me, because they thought they knew more than I did, I ignored or went,
Mm-hmm.
as my grandmother would say, went in one ear, went out and out the other. I mean, I totally disregard everything they say. And maybe the 1% of the advice or information or whatever was communicated to me was retained because I thought it had some value. And I had to do research or, make a decision at some point in the future as to whether or not to use that advice or just not use it. And if you have confidence in yourself, you could do anything. And I honestly believe that. It has nothing to do with whether you're a man and a woman. A lot of times with typecast, if you're a woman, you can or you can't. Well, not so much in your generation, but certainly, your parents or your grandparents.
Mm-hmm.
If you were a woman, you can't do that. I mean, you just can't do that. Well, you can do, or I know when I was growing up, if you were a woman, all you can do is to have babies and basically be a nurse or a teacher. Those were your limitations. You couldn't be anything else. You were a housewife. It was absolutely insane. And if you were a man, you had to do A, B, and C. And
Mm-hmm.
that's, I mean, it's absolute garbage. You, as a man or a woman, whether you're younger or you're old, if you don't believe in yourself, you don't have confidence in yourself. I mean, yes, if you have a certain amount of intellectual capacity, if you go on to school and
Mm-hmm.
achieve whatever it is you've achieved. I mean, obviously, being smart doesn't hurt you,
Mm-hmm.
but you don't have to be a genius to succeed. And I mean, Bill Gates is a college dropout, so he did okay. And well, whatever. That's
Yeah. And what are your goals now in your retired life? Still doing some investing on the side, trying to live healthy. Like how do you keep pushing the envelope to improve yourself?
I don't need to prove to myself or anybody what I'm capable of doing. I mean, one of the goals that I had when I was younger was that when I reached the age that I am now, hopefully I'd be in good health, and I am in good health. But also financially, I knew that, most older people, at least back then, had no money. So I wanted to be financially secure,
Mm-hmm.
which is part of the reason why I basically, no longer continue to practice medicine. I retired from medicine when I was 44, and I became a real estate investor. So I am financially secure. I've done very, very well. And so I've achieved those, but that's me. When I was 20 some odd years old, I mean, I was thinking of life insurance and financial goals and achieving a certain rate of return on my money. And I was always a saver, and I always put 30% of my wife's and my money together when we just invested it. And I learned how to invest. So again, I don't make excuses. I always wanted to have I always wanted to be secure to be able to make decisions at this point in my life. Now that I am what I am, I just really want my health to continue to be fine, and want to take care of myself as far as that goes. I mean, physically, I fully intend to continue to do yoga and work with my personal trainer. Travel, I'm not a big traveler. I don't really care about traveling that much, but my wife seems to enjoy it. And since my daughter lives overseas, it's kind of makes more sense, I guess, for us to travel. But yeah, I don't really have a lot of goals. I mean, we have more than one house, have material possession. I'm not a big spender. I don't need it. I mean, I'm not a showy person. I could just as easily drive a very modest car as compared to some people that have to drive, the most expensive Mercedes Benz out there, or Porsche or whatever. It's not important to me. It really isn't. Even though I can probably buy a fleet of Rolls Royces, it means nothing to me. Who cares? I mean, if you want to do it, that's great. I mean, but don't, you know, I just that's just not the way I think. So I really achieved everything that I guess I wanted to when I was younger. Um, I wish I was physically stronger because I know as you get older, you get sarcopenia, and I'm clearly well aware of that, although I've reversed some of that, but I'm obviously don't have physical prowess as I did when I was 30 years old, or whatever the case may be. But but so be it. I know I'm way ahead of the crowd as far as the way I look and I feel and my health is, and let's just hope it continues for a long time. That's it. If I die tomorrow, so be it. I'll have a smile on my face. Doesn't really make a difference. I mean,
Wow, it's really wonderful to hear how you achieved all the goals you set out for yourself when you were young, and you continue to enjoy such vibrant health today. Have you ever been interested in going to things like the NHA conference and meeting more of these like contrarian type of people in person? Or are you pretty satisfied with the connections you have right now with people on this plant-based lifestyle?
it's interesting. When I years ago when I went whole food plant based, it was very, I didn't really know about NHA, or really that there was actually a supportive group of people who actually maintains this lifestyle. So you pretty much did things on your own, aside from Joel Furman's PBS specials occasionally, and reading Michael Greger's books and nutrition facts and all that stuff. It was very isolating, socially
Mhm.
isolating in many ways, which is part of the reason why I joined NHA. It is nice to be around people who think like you, who have the same mindset, who eat like you. You don't have to worry about when you go there what you're going to eat, because
Mhm.
everybody's supposed to eat, which is really wonderful. I don't have to explain my mentality to people, even if they accept me. They don't really. They still think I'm kind of a kook, which
Mhm.
I guess I am. But whatever the case may be. I mean, so yeah, but again, that's me. Yeah. I mean, I went to the Eat Those Farm project, which is in New Jersey. They do regenerative farming, and they had a weekend conference about a month or so ago, which I thought was really invigorating. And there's other people there like
Mhm.
myself. Um, but to me, it's not really a priority. I mean, I made the decision on my own years ago to become what I am today, and it is nice to have other people in a support group like yourself,
Mhm.
which is part of the reason I guess I'm going next week to True North Health, because it's just part of that mentality. It's part of the team that I decided to become a member or a part of. Um, but for me, it's not so much of a priority. I mean, I'm just very inwardly proud of the fact that I have the capacity to control my life, to control my future. It's a healthy life. That my lab study, I mean, my blood pressure like a year or two ago was 90 over 60. I had to tell the nurse ahead of time it's going to be low,
Mhm.
because she said, I'd never seen it this low before. I said, well, that's me. I mean, when I was 25 years old, it was higher than that. I remember it was like
Mhm.
130 over or whatever it was, 80 or something. But it to me, it's amazing. And people my age, 75% of them have hypertension. I don't, maybe I have hypotension. I don't know. But it's so I'm clearly an outlier in many ways, which is good. I mean, to me, I think it's great. But I understand, I mean, I understand it perhaps on a higher level than some people, because even though I'm a podiatrist, I mean, obviously I have a medical background. So I still went to the same classes that the MDs went to, because our professors were identical. So, I do understand it from a medical perspective, but it still astounds me. I mean, when I got the results back a month or so ago from the test, I was just astounded. I was flabbergasted. I really was. So, yeah, I mean, it's very empowering to be in charge of yourself, to not only make the decision. I mean, I actually have two primary doctors. I have my whole food plant-based lifestyle doctor, who's whatever, about 1,000 miles away. We do telemedicine, and she's wonderful. She's absolutely wonderful. And I have a local doctor who I actually switched doctors recently. So last summer I went to her, and one of the things, and I told her my lifestyle and everything. One of the things she said to me was, every day I love having a glass of milk.
Hmm.
And she meant real milk, not
Mm,
plant-based milk.
mhm,
So I said to her, well, that's great. I said, you're the doctor, you get to make the decision for your own health. I just want you to know something, that milk has casein, protein casein, and the World Health Organization has determined casein to be a carcinogen.
mhm,
So every time you have a glass of milk, you're drinking, carcinogens. So just be aware of that. And she looked at me like, amazing. I didn't know that. And I said, you
mhm.
didn't know that, did you? She said, no, I didn't. I said, would you like me to send you some information? So I did.
Hmm.
So I educated my doctor, my local doctor. But the only reason why I have a local doctor is because if something were to happen to me, if I were
Yep.
in a car accident or break a bone or something like that, I mean, obviously, my doctor 1,000 miles away is probably not a choice I would want to go to.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, so I have two doctors, two primary doctors, my cardiologist, who really is my cholesterol doctor,
Mhm.
and my urologist for my prostate cancer. And there's another reason actually I'm going to True North, that um, I lost another 10 pounds in the past couple of months, 2, 3 months. So I also lost a couple of inches too, but I'm shorter now than I was when I was younger. But but like I actually went down to 143,
Mm,
which to me is amazing. I
mhm,
mean, again, last time I was 143, I was probably 16 years old. I don't know.
mm,
But I do have a certain amount of residual visceral fat in my belly,
mm.
which I I'm hoping maybe True North can somehow eliminate, get rid of,
Mhm.
whatever the case may be. We'll have to wait and see. Again, I'm curious. I mean, to me, yeah, part of the reason what keeps me going is I want to learn and see and experience a challenge or new things. I mean, intellectually, it's wonderful. It keeps me sharp, and I mean, hopefully, you'll benefit by it. So I don't see anything that I have to lose. So yeah, why not?
Yeah, lose except for visceral fat.
Yeah, hopefully.
Yeah, it's very there's I don't know if they published it yet, but there's True North studies done with DEXA scans where they show that during fasting, the body preferentially uses up the visceral fat first as fat to
No,
burn,
I
and
didn't
that
know that.
when during the refeeding process, it does not replenish that visceral fat again, such that people are losing their visceral fat and they're not gaining it back after fasting. So hopefully that's what happens with you, because that's what the studies that True North has conducted have shown so far, and they're probably going to put that up on their website soon. If not, it's definitely in their upcoming book on fasting, which is coming out the beginning of next year, which is aimed actually at clinicians and goes very deep into the science of fasting and the results that have been achieved over the clinic's 40 plus years of operation.
That's interesting. No, I didn't know that. That's news to me, but that's good news. I'm happy to hear that for sure. Good,
Mm-hmm.
good.
Yeah. And it's your wife, so she went on this lifestyle just kind of because you're the one making all the food. Has she noticed any improvements?
Well, she's noticed, yeah, she definitely has noticed some improvement. I mean, she's down to about 120, and she said that I don't think she weighed 120 when we first met almost 50 years ago. So, yeah, she's definitely down to, I guess, what she was when she was in college or high school or something like that. We both lost a lot of weight. Um, but I'm pretty much 100% whole food plant based. My wife, she will have an ice cream cone. She is really not even whole food plant based. She eats fish, she eats seafood. She's more of a pescatarian as far as that goes. I would say I mean, certainly understands my lifestyle. 80%, 80, maybe even 90% of what she eats is that. But if we go to a restaurant, she will more likely than not have something that is taboo for me. But her health is definitely much better
Hmm.
because most of what she consumes is what she should consume. Um, and you're right. It's to a large extent, it's by default. You know, she doesn't like cooking, and well, she's a good cook, but she likes me to cook. So, and again, I don't mind cooking, but you know, the problems arise when, but it's not even a problem. You know, like Thanksgiving. Uh, Everybody else eats turkey. I just ignore it. You know,
Hmm.
it's you know, it's interesting as you know, Michelle. I think you know your taste buds change.
Yes.
So what I crave for years ago, it's like, who cares? You know, I
Yeah.
don't really need it anymore. I know why people eat what they eat. I mean, people eat what they eat because their mommy fed it to them when they were children.
Hmm.
And they thought that was the best food in the world. You know, if you feed somebody a filet mignon, they're going to think it's wonderful, it's healthy, it's wonderful. But people don't even know what healthy is. I mean, you know, eating a filet mignon or Chateaubriand might sound good, it might be expensive, but it's not healthy for you. It's to make you
Right.
sick as a dog, and will give you a heart attack and you know diabetes and high blood pressure and hypercholesterolemia and all that stuff, um and will kill you ultimately. And it's not healthy. So I just know what I mean. I eat about a pound of beans a day. I love beans. Some people think that's gross, but I love it.
Mhm.
So again, you know, again, it's part of my mindset. I enjoy. I've always enjoyed being myself. I've always enjoyed not having to explain myself to other people. I know I have offended people over the years, not that I wanted to, but in business sometimes, you know, if it's you or me, I'm going to do what's best for me, not for you,
Mhm.
type of thing. And sorry if I'm offending you, but that's just the way it is. Um, but yeah, my wife is mostly one way or another, you know, endorsed my lifestyle, and she's part of it certainly. And she does tell me that I'm skinny, but I tell her she's skinny, so it's okay, you know.
Wow. Did she show any interest in going to True North with you or nah?
No, she actually thinks that I'm obsessive about this lifestyle, that I put too much effort and time into it, that I read read too much about it,
Mhm.
uh come up with recipes, you know, even cookbooks, you know, whole food plant-based cookbooks, which there are many out there, many good ones that they enjoy experimenting with. I mean, sometimes I made some pretty disgusting foods, even though it's whole food plant-based. Don't get me wrong. Some recipes just either I screwed up with or I don't know, weren't good. But she, you know, she doesn't have the same passion as I do, I guess is the best way to put it. But she benefits by it. There's no doubt about it.
Mm-hmm. Definitely.
Definitely.
Yeah. Has she, I'm assuming her personality, she's probably a little less, it tends to be in relationships that one person is the more like assertive and like that. I think that person is you. Does she have the same kind of personality where she isn't kind of pushed around by social forces?
I'm, you know, believe it or not, and you might not believe it, I'm really a very quiet person. I'm very,
Mm.
very much of, in many ways, not totally, certainly, but in many ways, I'm an introvert. Uh, and uh, and if you think about it, it makes perfect sense
Mm-hmm.
because of everything I've explained to you. My wife is, I wouldn't call her an extrovert, but she is more of the social between the two of us. And I'm very comfortable just being by myself and doing whatever I do, and you
Mm-hmm.
know, which is very self-centered in many ways. She also is comfortable with that, but after X period of days, or whatever, because we live by ourselves. I mean, our children are, you know, long since gone. They're living their own lives, and we still live in the same house we bought 42, 3 years ago, whatever it was. So, you know, we have like a 3,500 square foot house with 4 bedrooms and you only use one bedroom and everything, and a couple of bathrooms, and we live in a nice neighborhood. But she'll, yeah, schedule social events and get together with friends, and schedule trips, and time to spend your money, Jeff, type of thing. It's like you worked all these years to make money, and now you got to spend some of it. So okay, whatever.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, Dr. Doug Lisle, who's the co-author of The Pleasure Trap, does say that people who are introverted tend to do better on this lifestyle because they're not continually putting themselves in those situations where they're tempted by the naughty food or trying to get along with other people. So I think it serves you quite well to be happy and comfortable with yourself.
Well, and it's not an issue for me now, but certainly when I was very young, and growing up, and in my formative years, so to speak, it was very daunting, because you think as a young, at least I thought as a young person, had to please everybody, had to do what everybody else did, I had to do what was commonly accepted to do and expected of me, and which was part of the reason why I went to the educational path that I did, because, and quite honestly, I thought my mother and father would be very happy with that decision. I never thought that I might be unhappy. I just thought it was, why not? If they were
Mm-hmm.
happy, I guess maybe they knew more than I did.
Mm-hmm.
And but I guess I've always been an introvert. I mean, in retrospect, as a young person, I didn't really necessarily think of myself that way. But looking back at myself, yeah, I've always been an introvert. And you're right. Some of the comments you made, Michelle, is that you you by being an introvert, you don't need to please the world. You need to please yourself. You need to make your small circle, or your small world, or smaller world than other people's world, one that works for you, and whatever that definition of working for you might happen to be. So I think there's a lot of truth to what you're
Mm-hmm.
saying, and what Dr. Weil is saying also. It does make, at least to me, it makes a lot of sense. The thing I also learned, when I was younger, for example, not so much what I choose to eat or my lifestyle as far as that goes, but when I decided to become a real estate investor, I mean, I did a lot of research. I went back to school and did a lot of what if scenarios, and it wasn't something that was a spur of the moment. It took me many years before I
Mm-hmm.
was comfortable to say I got to invest money, and I think I can do very well with it.
Mm-hmm.
And you meet people that you never met before. You go to a party, you meet strangers for the first time, and one of those things, oftentimes pops up. What do you do for a living? So I remember I told this guy who I never met before, I'm a real estate investor. Oh, what's that? Had no idea what it was. I mean, most people don't know what it is. And he said, I'd like to learn how to do that. So I took 5, 10, 15 minutes to explain to him what he should do, what he might want to consider doing. And you know what? People do what they want to do, and they say things to basically make social conversations. I bumped into him 2, 3 months later, and I asked him if he did anything I suggested. He had no idea of the conversation we had a couple of months earlier. He did absolutely nothing, and today he's probably complaining how he has no money. But that's another conversation. So
Wow.
it's interesting. I accept people for what they are. I'm not going to change the world. I'm not trying to change the world. If people are genuinely interested in improving themselves, they will. And if people aren't, they won't. And I mean, I mentor people in real estate for free through a national organization. I give away thousands of dollars in my time for free, because I love it. I enjoy it. I did very well as a real estate investor, and to me, it's just part of the day. I mean, I can look at the property and make money out of it. That's what I do. I mean, it's not so hard. It's not hard to do anything if you know what you're doing, and
Mm-hmm.
that's the confidence. I know I can do it. You know,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there are things I don't want to do now because of my age, and because of the challenge that not so much financial, but you have to deal with the politics. There's a certain amount of physical stuff you have to do. At least I do in real estate. and dealing with personalities and
Mm-hmm.
tenants who can be not easy to deal with always,
Mm-hmm.
and bureaucracies and taxes and stuff. But yeah, I mean, it's not hard. And to somebody who's 30 or 40 years old or 25 years old or whatever, I tell them you want to be a millionaire, I'll tell you how to do it. It's not a big deal.
Thank
Seriously.
you.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, my mom is a financial advisor and she's always told me that career-wise, she told me, Michelle, there's two things people care about, health and wealth. So do one of those. And
Well,
it sounds
that's
like
very,
you've got both
very
fields
true.
figured out. So
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
fantastic.
No,
Um,
that's very good advice. Yeah, your mom's right.
yeah,
But
she's
but
right.
but your mom, it's interesting. Years ago, a few years ago, we have a kind of a friend who is a financial advisor, and he knows how much I'm worth, and he knows a lot of that was made in real estate investment. And I said to him, "Would you be interested in me somehow working with you?" Um, to help your clients learn how to invest in real estate. And he wanted nothing to do with it. I don't know if he saw it. He may have seen it as a conflict of interest, being that I'm one of his clients. But even his advice, I don't, well, whatever, I don't really know. But a lot of financial advisors, including your mom, and I'm sure because she is a financial advisor, you've had conversations over the years. When I tell you you can make returns of 30, 40, 50% a year in, year out, I don't think your mom knows how to do that. Maybe she does. I don't think she can. I
It's
have.
tough, tough.
Yeah, yeah. Well, 30 or 40% is almost impossible. I mean, she probably does mutual funds and stock investing and
Yeah, yeah.
which is great, but that's not going to yield 30, 40% on a long-term basis. So, I typically buy properties for nothing and get 100% financing, and then, but I can do that. I know how to do
Wow. So
it.
it sounds like what you're doing isn't too risky because you've calculated it very well and it's always an informed decision what you're buying.
Well, I'm a very analytical person. I am reasonably intelligent. I'm not a genius, but I'm a fairly smart person. But I'm a very analytical person, and I don't do something unless I've done the analysis first.
Hmm.
And you know, I, if I can make a ton of money, and I believe I can do it, and I have the confidence in myself, which I do, yeah, I do it. That's it. I don't run ideas by other people. I don't even really ask my wife because she doesn't understand what I'm doing. Not as far as real estate goes. She just knows I know what I'm doing, and she sees the benefit of that because money is coming in every month. So
Hmm.
that's really what counts. So you got to believe in yourself, and part of what you were alluding to before with Dr. Weil, and being an introvert is, you don't need to please the world. You need to do what you believe is the right thing for your own health and your own wealth and for your own well-being, to make yourself happy, to wake up every morning, to have a smile on your face, to be financially secure, and to believe that the future will be just as rosy as it has been in the past, and obviously your current lifestyle. Um, so yeah, that's really it for me. I don't think I want anything for myself and anybody else doesn't want, but I don't think that you have to be somewhat focused. You have to want to believe that whatever you're doing is going to have an end result that's going to be favorable for you. Um, and most people aren't willing to sacrifice. I mean, I remember when I was younger, I always sacrificed for the present because I knew in the future it was going to pay off. I think I told you before that I've never been a big spender, and that's just the way I am. Even though I can afford a lot more, I just, why? And I remember, when I was in school, I think we were spending $210 a month for rent for our apartment, even though we could have afforded, 50% more than that at the time. Why? I was very happy. I mean, I didn't need anything. I mean, I remember my grandmother and my grandfather, they were very wealthy people, and they they drove a rusty car. My mentor in real estate, my residency director in medicine, he drove a beat up 22-year-old rusty car, and he was probably worth, like I said, $500 million. And they live in a very poor part of town. It would be called a slum. You don't need to impress people as long as you believe in yourself and you're happy, and your lifestyle is happy, for whatever that word might mean for you. That's really all that counts. It's not about other people. Other people can do what they want. They can make mistakes, whatever. It's a lot of times you don't realize you make mistakes until 10, 20, 30 years later. I mean, we all make mistakes, but you try to keep mistakes to an absolute minimum, obviously.
Yeah.
Has this interview been helpful for you,
Oh,
Michelle?
absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. I think it's very helpful on a wide number of levels. And in general, the people who listen to these interviews just span, from ages like me, like in their 20s up to 60s and 70s, or even 100. So I think but the kind of advice you've been talking about is evergreen. And I think in a nutshell, they say that happiness is achieved through wanting what you already have. And it sounds like someone like you, by living the kind of lifestyle that's very ascetic in a way, you already, what you have is all you would want, and you've never let yourself go down that hedonic treadmill of ever inflating desires. You've kept a very grounded life. Is there anything I didn't ask about that you want to share?
No, I've tried to be an open book to you, and I just look forward to my future as much as any person of any age would. And like you said before, I mean, I just really want my health to continue to prosper and do well, and I'm very hopeful that it will. And no, nothing really more than that. I mean, I am very happy with whatever I have. I mean, I'm not perfect. I mean, I just do the best I can. I'm a human being. We all have to do what we have to do, what we consider to be best for ourselves.
Yep. You have to let us know how the water fast goes. That is a very special, unique experience.
Well, it's going to be a new experience for me. You're absolutely right. I mean, the next couple of weeks are going to be. I mean, my wife said, I'm not going to be able to do it. She said, "How are you not going to be able to eat for so long a period of time?" And I don't know. I don't have an answer to that because I've never done it before. I can't really say, but I do know that other people have done it, and if they can do it, I mean, I guess I can do it also. I feel very comfortable. I know I'm in good hands with Dr. Goldhammer and
Yes.
company.
Yes.
I know I'm going to meet a lot of people, not only whole food plant-based, but people who are completely opposite to that and eat all the wrong foods, and probably are overweight and obese. But that's, it's okay. I mean, if other people can do it, I can do it. Not a problem. Again, as I said to you earlier in the interview, I don't think, I don't dwell on what I can't do. I try to focus on what I want to do, what I can do, what I know I've accomplished over the years. So, if I've done it already, why can't I do it in the future? And it will be a challenge. It'll be exciting. And that's the way I look at it. So, yeah, I'm looking forward to it.